Alright, hey friends, this is Darren here in the Bowtie Treasures studio. How are you doing this Tuesday evening here? So I do want to let you know what I've done so far. I've done a little bit of sanding on the top. I've done 2 coats of gray bonding boss, and then I've done 1 coat of French linen. I do want to have 2 coats, of course, but tonight we will put the second coat of French linen on, and then we will go in and we'll do blending. The tough part about blending in this situation is just keeping things consistent. Like, we don't want a giant oval here and then on the next panel it's tiny, so keeping an eye on your consistency is important. And if worst case scenario you have to repaint the front just to get that one panel right, it's worth the effort. I'll do as many of the drawer fronts as I can. That makes sense before it starts getting a little redundant. You'll get the idea pretty quick. There's 3 main techniques I like to speak to whenever I'm demonstrating blending, and I'll go ahead and tell you what they are now, and I'll rehearse them with you. One, it's work quickly, keep it wet, and use a light touch. Outside of that, the tools you're going to need usually are about 3. I would recommend 3 brushes, 1 for each color and 1 for blending and softening it out. You do that and you should be good to go on your project. And I also keep a misting bottle handy. This keeps everything wet. And the light touch, you're going to have to provide that. And if you haven't blended before, it isn't difficult. And there is a balance of paint you want to have, but it's hard to blend if you don't have enough paint. You can't have too much paint. So you'll see how much, I'll try and demonstrate how much paint I use. All right, my 3 brushes I'm going to use tonight, I've got a variety. There's so many options. I'll use a small one. This is a flat small. It looks like I haven't even used it yet. So spanking new. And that'll be the one I do for the sandbar, because I don't want to use a lot of color. And then you can decide between a flat, a mini, and this one is a flat medium. They're both good sizes to get the bulk of the French linen on there. And then whatever brush you really like. This is an oval small. And I like this one. There are several other options you can choose from for blending. I would find the brush that best works for your canvas, your space you're working on. And I think this oval small will be nice. And what I do like about a good blending brush is it's just soft. You know, if you beat up your brush too much, in order to have a light touch, you need soft bristles. So this is a fairly, I mean, it's been used a lot, but it's not hard. Like, I haven't beat it to death with like top coat and other things like that. So, all right, we're gonna pull this out. This beautiful Drexel dresser is ready to go. I'm not going to worry too much right now about painting the sides. All I'm really worried about or focused on right now is getting the second coat of paint on, and then dive right in there with my second coat. Notice that I already have my second color open and ready to go, because as soon as I stop brushing on this, it's going to want to start drying on me. So don't wait too long. Move quickly. All right, let's go ahead and wet this brush down. Next thing we're going to do is just try to come up with a good amount of paint that looks pretty good. In this case, I can have a choice of going just around these circles or all the way across. I think for the sake of this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and go across. Let's start in the middle and let's just brush it out. You're creating somewhat of a vignette. Now at this point, you can start blending that in a little bit, but this is where I would come back with my blending brush. Have a wet rag handy, and this is where I'm just gonna like do little infinity symbols and feather that out, discharge some of that extra paint. But this is the light touch. Soft, light touch. Now, I did not miss before I blended it because my paint was fairly wet. The larger the surface, the more you're probably going to use your misting bottle. But what I need to look for is make sure that I'm not dipping too much. It's probably pretty good. But again, if you don't get it right, Let it dry, put another coat of paint on, you should be good to go. So let's push that in. That one's done. It kind of looks a little lighter because it's wet, but I think that worked out great. Work from top to bottom, because if you are misting, the mist is going to fall, and I don't want to work top to bottom and I'm misting the top when I'm getting the bottom wet. So think about that a little bit. Let's work on the second drawer. I'm just pulling it out a little bit just because I don't want the extra paint to get all over everything. Using my hand to block some of the mist. Not critical that I missed, but the paint will move quicker and just coat really nice and smooth. I want a nice smooth coat. Make sure the paint you're using in your container is also not super thick. My sandbar was a little dry as in I hadn't used it in a while, so I put a little bit of water in there, mixed it up really good, so tonight when I put it on, it's not super thick. It's just going to blend a lot easier that way too. So this is our second coat. First coat was already done off camera. So just giving a nice coverage. You don't want to have to come back and paint this because you missed a spot. So get a good second coat on there. But also make sure that you put a good amount of paint there. You don't want to be too thin on that. Okay, I'm going to do a quick mist. And then we'll just go into our sandbar. Find a happy amount of paint. And here we are going to just put our glow, halo, highlight, whatever you want to call it, only around the hardware. So back to our rag and our blending brush. Now for the light touch. See how I'm twisting my wrist a little bit? You don't have to do that, but that kind of helps mix the paint and blend it. If you don't want to mix the paint, don't do that. Maybe just think about a side to side. If you have to, you can also go up and down a little bit depending on the size of the blend you're doing. In this case, I'm just going to go left and right. And the more I go over it, the lighter my touch is. So by the time you're done, I like to call it more of a feathery touch, or you just touch it. That sounds like Bob Ross. I don't know what else does, but so you can see that halo. And that'll be my goal, to use the same amount of paint each time. I won't get it perfect, and I don't claim to have this, that the whole thing will be perfect, but when it's all said and done, you're looking for an overall look that works together as an entire piece of furniture. Light mists, just go back to our paint. So yeah, just once you get that technique down, you should move pretty quickly. All right, light mist. You don't have to mist, but it just helps move that paint a little bit softer. I'm trying to regulate how much paint I use on my brush. I don't know if you can see that, just a little bit, just touch it. And then we'll put that in the same spot. Left and right, up and down a little bit. Kind of blend that in there a little. If this is not a bright enough highlight for you for your project, just go with a lighter color. You might consider something like drop cloth. You can do fluff if you really want it to be bright. I've done light and I've done bright. Sometimes it just is a little too much, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want it to take over. This one is just a nice, elegant, soft glow. And on my camera, it looks different than in person, but it's capturing that glow I'm looking for. I'm going to try to do just a little bit less of misting on this second round and see how it goes. All right, let's go in there. No misting. I'm going to take a little paint off. It's such a little small section. I don't want to get too big. Go to my blending brush. I always like to just wipe off any extra. Now another thing you can do is also mist your brush. I'm going to give my brush a little mist instead of misting my drawer. Alright. And soft. It's a little lower. I'll put a little bit more across the top. I hate to come back and do that, but while it's still wet, but don't overwork it. And we'll put just, I'm starting to overwork it. I'm a little worried about that, but hoping that I can fix that while I'm here. It's getting too low. All right, friends, I think that's it. Hope that helps. And if you have any questions about blending, let me know. Until next time, be awesome, do something creative. I'm Aaron here in the Bowtie Treasure Studio. Until next time, we'll see you all later.
That's the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell before you go. Bye.